Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Who is Realme C25? Sorry. Can you give your name, please?
Sir, Nagpure Shruti.
Sorry?
Nagpure Shruti.
Okay. You're in the psychology batch, is it?
No, sir.
You're from the
BA honors in political science.
BA classes at 6:30.
Oh, sorry, sir.
BA class, there is another link. Pranita P.
She also BA honors, sir.
Yeah, I think she left. Please come back
Okay,
at
sir.
6:30. Come back at
Okay, sir.
6:30. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank
Saif. Hello, Saif. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, Saif. Can you hear
Yes, sir.
me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
You're PhD student, right?
Yeah, sir. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for some more.
Okay, sir.
Maria, good evening.
Good,
Shall we get going?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Because I'm still telling the story of how the word research came into being. I want to finish the story quickly and get into methodology. But this is a story you have to know. It's not like something I'm telling you for the sake of entertainment. It isn't. Okay, I've been trying to tell you the other day, the last time we met, I was talking about these two words, namely cosmos and chaos. I was also talking about anarchy. Now, I'm not going to talk about any of these words anymore. Probably make a reference here and there to cosmos now. I told you, cosmos basically means that things happen in the universe for the sake of a reason. We as people may be aware of the reason, we may not be aware of the reason, but they actually happen for a reason. So let's try to put it that way. Cosmos is, it looks at the world as a universe which is one verse, not many verses, or in this case, the reason for the existence of the world is a oneness and not a manyness. Let me give you a quote from the Bible. I told you most of the early research comes from Christianity and that it comes from the Bible. So let's start understanding that. The Bible says, oh, Okay, this is all it says. All manyness comes from oneness, and it all returns, all the manyness actually returns back to the oneness. This is not exclusive to the Bible. You will find that this is the kind of thing that is said in many of the cosmologies, including the Greek cosmology, where people would say that the world is one and there is not manyness in it. So the best example from ancient Greece that we can talk about is Parmenides. From the Eleatic school, and he said that the world doesn't move at all, nor do things in the world move. So for him, the world is a stillness, and any movement is illusory or unreal. Okay. In fact, if you look at Parmenides, he had an ongoing spat with another famous Greek philosopher, whom I'm sure you've heard about, Heraclitus. Heraclitus believed that the world is moving, that there is no, he didn't believe in the idea of the universe. He just said the world is moving all the time. And Heraclitus also said that you do not step into the same river twice. Okay. Why did he say this? He said this because he sees the water is flowing, and since the water is flowing, it's in a state of flux. It is fluid, and since it is fluid, he believes that you don't step into the same river twice. The counter that Parmenides gives to this, Parmenides, like I said, didn't agree with Heraclitus. Parmenides claims what happened here? Yeah. Parmenides claims that the river is one. You don't say it is many rivers just because it is flowing. You don't say it is many rivers. The river is one and is a part of the stillness of the universe. Stillness because everything in the world is still. Okay? Nothing is moving. So Parmenides had this idea that if you think that the world is moving, then you are under an illusion. Okay, everything that moves or seems to move is ultimately an illusion because the world doesn't move. The world remains what it is. We talked about the river. The river is flowing from one place to another. Okay, so that gives you the feeling, the sensation that the river is flowing. But he would say, maybe you get the feeling that the river is flowing. But is the river disappearing? Is the flow of the river, if you say there is an aeroplane flying, okay, let's for a moment believe that this is an aeroplane. You look at it in the sky, if it is moving, it disappears from sight. It disappears from sight at some place. Whereas if you look at the river doesn't go away. The river doesn't go away. The river is where it is. So he says you step into the same river again and again and again, as opposed to what Heraclitus said. Heraclitus said you don't step into the same river again and again or twice. So Parmenides says, no, it isn't so. The world is a stillness. It doesn't move. We are under the illusion that movement is happening. Okay? That is his position. But you must understand that the Eleatic school to which Parmenides belonged is something that came up in opposition to an older school or a school that existed before the Eleatic school did, and it believed in matter, which is opposed by the Eleatic school. So let's stop talking about the Asiatic school, let us talk about this other school that we were just talking about as being in opposition to the Asiatic school. That is, in fact, the Malaysian school, and the Malaysian school believed that there was a primary substance from which all other substances in the world or the universe came out of. This is called the Malaysian school because the three people who belong to this school came from the police, or if you like, the province of Miletus. Miletus was the name of the province from which you see that the Malaysian school's name is derived. I told you there are three members, three very well-known people of the Malaysian school. Are Thales, Anaxi, Manda, and Anaximenes. These are the three well-known people from the Malaysian school. They all didn't coexist at the same time. Thales was the first. Anaximander was after him. And finally, after him came Anaximenes. Some people would even say Heraclitus is an outside member of the Malaysian School. Outside member because he didn't really belong to Militus, and therefore he's called the outside member. Now, let's try to understand the idea that there is a primary substance from which everything else came out. What exactly is this idea telling us? Okay, that is what we need to understand. And if we need to understand that, we first have to know what the primary substance is. The primary substance is the substance that was there when nothing else existed. I don't know if you're familiar with the experiments that are being still carried out at this place in Switzerland. The place is called CERN. Now, please don't ask me to expand the abbreviation because I have forgotten what CERN stands for, which is very, very lax and bad on my part. And just when I'm trying to say that it is lax and bad on my part, the dog is also creating a bit of a mess there. I apologize for the noise. This seems to be an ongoing lack of professionalism on my side. But anyway, let's get back to this. In Switzerland, there is this place called CERN. CERN is trying to understand the Big Bang Theory. Okay, what is the Big Bang Theory? The Big Bang Theory is fairly straightforward. Okay, it believes in a couple of things. What does it believe in? The Big Bang Theory believes that there was one particle and that this particle exploded literally and threw around in the galaxy that we are living in. It threw around other many particles. And so if you look at those many particles, they all came from that one single particle. Now it's uncanny that in the 21st century, CERN is researching on this. It is like what the Bible says. Please read there if you see, you can see what I have written. All manyness comes from oneness, and it all returns to the oneness. Well, we haven't seen the return happening, but some people argue that it will happen, but I don't want to get into that right now. Right now, let's talk about CERN. CERN, of course, has made one small amendment. A few years of research later, initially they talked about one particle. Then they said one particle possibly cannot explode. Okay, one particle possibly cannot explode all on its own. And create this galaxy, not the universe. We are talking about the galaxy. Some people will say it is also the universe, but the CERN is not talking about the universe. It is talking about our galaxy, which is the Milky Way, which is what it is called. The galaxy in which we live is the Milky Way. Okay, so they're talking about that. Now, what the CERN claims is that there is matter, and there is the opposite of matter, which is antimatter. Okay, there is the opposite of matter, which is antimatter, and when matter and antimatter come together, when matter and antimatter come together, they are opposites, they carry different charges, and therefore there is an explosion. And that explosion is what led to the galaxy, the Milky Way, including the sun. Including the sun. Some people will stretch this theory and tell you that actually antimatter and matter created the whole of the universe. Whole of the universe, that which we cannot see also even through an electron telescope, even that, those galaxies, faraway galaxies, are a result of this particular thing that happened between matter and antimatter. They both came together, and as a result, the world exploded. So what is the CERN doing? The CERN has what it calls the world's largest Hadron Collider. Okay. The Hadron Collider is actually something that is built in the form of tunnels that go around the whole of Switzerland. They go under France. They go under Hungary. They go under Germany. So the Hadron Collider, which is it is called the Hadron Collider, is technically called the Particle Hadron Collider, where the particle is the matter and the antimatter. Okay. Now, if we talk about matter and antimatter, for too long, we'll be talking about something else, but this bit of clarification is necessary. Now, matter is something that we have all around us. This is matter, right? You can touch it, matter has some properties. The properties of matter are that you can touch it, feel it, smell it. If you are stupid enough, you can even bite it to see how it tastes. So that is matter for us in the usual commonsensical fashion. This is matter. This is a pen, but this pen is matter because again, it has all the properties that I talked about. Properties that can be felt by our senses and the cognition of our brain, which I shall talk about when we come to John Locke's seminal essay, which made empiricism happen. He talks about an essay concerning human understanding in which he says all these things, which I have already said, but he says a few more. So I'll save them for later, not now. So antimatter and matter. So matter is there. Matter is all around you. Here I've got a book. This is matter, right? I've got a stapler. This is matter. Now, when you say that antimatter is the opposite of matter, are we saying if we can touch, feel, taste, smell matter, antimatter is that which cannot be touched, that which cannot be smelt, that which cannot be, is that how we understand matter and antimatter in CERN's terms? No, that is not the case. Matter and antimatter, that is why the important word in the Hadron Collider is the particle. And a particle here has a neutron, has an orbiting electron, it has a positively charged proton, and it has a nucleus, which is the center. It has a nucleus, which is the center, and it is from the nucleus that the proton is drawing its charge. The neutron is remaining neutral by not drawing too much charge, then it will become more powerful than the proton, or not drawing too much negative charge. That's why it's the neutron. The electron, which is which is orbiting, that particular thing is the one that actually has a negative charge. If the negative charge, which is the electron, comes into the nucleus, okay, if it comes into the nucleus, or if it comes into contact with the proton, which is positively charged, then the explosion happens. Okay, then the explosion happens. In anything, when you're basically setting off bombs during Diwali, we were told that this year there'll be no bombs, there'll only be lights, no sounds, only nice lights. Every year they tell us this, and every year we have bombs going off throughout the night, not letting people sleep. The government also tells us that they won't let people immerse the Ganesh idols in the Hussain Sagar. This year they said this is the last year that POP, plaster of Paris idols will be allowed to be put in the Hussain Sagar. From next year on, they won't be allowed. And they said this year on, we won't allow Durga idols, which are made of POP, to be put in the Hussain Sagar. But they made arrangements for putting the POP idols of Durga after the Sera to be put in. Official arrangements were made to put the POP idols into the Hussain Sagar. This is how the cleanup of Hussain Sagar is happening. So next year again, you can be sure that the government itself will make all arrangements to put in these large Ganesh uh, idols made of POP, plaster of Paris. So that's the way our administration is, but that's an aside. That is absolutely an aside. So the particle collision that we have that sets off even a small bomb that goes phat, that also has a negative charge or an electron coming into contact through the medium of heat. You have to light these things. Light is also heat. Through the medium of heat, you bring the negative and positive charges together and create an explosion. When you're doing it for Deepavali, you're doing it at a very, very small scale. But just imagine what should be the scale if negative matter, antimatter, and matter came together and exploded. Well, people will say there's nothing to imagine. There you have it, the universe, it's in front of you. That's what CERN will tell you. In fact, they are trying to find out what exactly is antimatter. Electron is not antimatter. They are basically trying to find out what exactly constitutes antimatter. How does this antimatter come into contact with matter? Okay, which is a subject for physicists, not for social science students like us, right? But the interesting thing that you must remember here is that they're saying it all starts with one particle. The whole world, the Big Bang theory, which is accepted by science, though there'll be some skeptics who have been denying that there was no Big Bang theory, but they haven't told us how the world came into being. Those who deny the Big Bang theory, they have not told us how the world has come into being. So if you look at these people, they will tell you that the Big Bang theory didn't happen. But those who believe in the Big Bang theory are the ones who are trying to find out what is antimatter. And what will happen if a small bit of antimatter comes into collision with a small bit of matter? Small bits. They're not talking about huge antimatter and small, I mean, rather huge matter. They're not talking about that. So they are talking about these small things. Even for that small thing, the Hadron Particle Collider, I got it wrong there. I put it as a Particle Hadron Collider. It is the Hadron Particle Collider in which the collision is supposed to take place. One attempt was made which went instead of going fat and showing how matter and antimatter come together. But that day at the beginning of the millennium, when antimatter and matter were supposed to be coming together, people were scared that the earth itself may disappear, may disintegrate. Sorry, not disappear, disintegrate. So even modern science, I'm telling you this to justify why I tell stories of ancient Greece, why I tell you stories from medieval period, because a lot of what we see in ancient Greek, in the ancient period, comes into, and the medieval period comes into the modern period. I was telling you the other day, okay, somebody sent a joke on WhatsApp, which went viral. And I think it was pretty funny, though I don't know if I can repeat it here. Maria, will you excuse me if I repeat it here? It's a bit, a small bit of it is not fit to be said in a classroom. But nevertheless, I'll tell you this joke. The joke is that somebody actually wrote this and circulated it on WhatsApp. I have been saying for ages that the story of the apple falling on Newton's head is a stupid story. Okay, it's a completely stupid story. It's not like the apple fell on Newton's head and Newton said, lo, lo, behold, things fall and we have gravity. That's how we were taught, which is rubbish. So this is a good joke. The joke says, wasn't Milton, not Milton, why am I saying Milton? Newton. Wasn't Newton urinating and finding out that the water was going downwards and not going upwards? Did he have to wait for an apple to fall? That's a joke. And the meaning behind the joke is that there is a body of knowledge, a big body of knowledge created by Galileo, of all people, whom we only talk about in the context of a telescope. Later on, I'll be talking to you about Galileo also. Galileo was the one who was trying to understand how things fall down or why things fall down. And Galileo was talking about an Anaximander. Galileo was talking about an Anaximander because an Anaximander was one of the first known people in the world who was trying to understand why things have a tendency to fall. Why do things have a tendency to fall? As long as I'm holding this mouse in my hand, it's staying here. The moment I let go, it falls. So Anaximander located the tendency to fall in the mouse, which is what Galileo was also doing. So Galileo was not somebody who was sitting and doing something on his own. Galileo was doing something which was there in the context of Anaximander. That's why the Renaissance is so important. The Reformation is so important. Okay? These questions which the ancient Greeks were asking were asked again. Galileo asked that question again. And Newton worked not on an apple falling on his head or falling on somebody's head, but on the question of falling. Newton is different from Galileo because Galileo, like Anaximander, thought things have a tendency to fall. Okay? Whereas Newton basically came to the conclusion things don't have a tendency to fall. Earth has gravity and it pulls it down. I'll stop here today. I'll see you on Monday, hopefully. Sharat, will I see you on Monday?
Yes, sir.
Maria,
Yes, of
Saif, I hope to see you on Monday too. Saif? Well,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. See, if I don't end this meeting now, the next people from the next meeting will start entering this and there'll be a confusion. So I'm abruptly ending this. We'll discuss some of these things. I'll go back to the Malaysian School on Monday, and from there we'll come right back to Newton. Thank you very much for putting up with me. See you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves.